Today I'm going to do a real short video on showing you how I installed the BBK Shorty headers on my 2013 V6 Mustang. I actually got these headers from American Muscle, and the install wasn't too bad. The driver's side is a lot easier to do than the passenger side, just because there's not the heater coolant lines running right on top of the headers like they are here. And on the passenger side, there are a lot more wire looms you have to watch out for. I actually start to install them. What I did first was jack up the car and undo the bolts on your stock manifolds where it will attach from actual one, in which case this attached from this flange to the cats and the rest of your exhaust. There's two bolts, one on the top and then one on the bottom. You can actually just loosen them. Take the bolts all the way out. On the stock manifolds, the studs will stay in the manifold. They won't pull all the way out. What I also did was I took the spare tire jack and put it underneath the middle of the X-pipe, and just to hold it up so that way it doesn't hang all the way down onto the ground while you're working on it. Next, what you'll have to do is on your stock manifolds, you'll have to loosen and remove their half-inch nuts off of the exhaust studs. The studs should stay in the engine block. If your car's older, you may want to put some penetrating oil on there, just that because they are rusty on there, and it'll make it a little bit easier to remove them. Once you have those off, I started with the driver's side and install the driver's side first. You're going to take off the old gasket, because these will come from American Muscle with brand new gaskets for the BBK headers. Once you have the old gasket off and the old manifold off, you can place the new manifold in place, and then I just put the nuts on the studs, just hand tighten just to hold it on there. Then I tightened, just alternate which ones you tighten. The easiest way I found to tighten them, because you cannot get a socket wrench to any of these, was to use a half-inch shorty, just a regular half-inch shorty wrench. This actually one like this here will work. It will make it a little bit easier if you have a set of short ratcheting wrenches. It'll make it a little bit easier because you'll actually have to tighten these pretty much just a quarter turn at a time when you go to put them on. If you have a ratcheting wrench, it'll you want to pull the wrench off the nut and put it back on to tighten it a little bit more. The passenger side is a little bit more difficult, just because you have this coolant line in the way, and then the wire looms, they aren't too bad. They're not really in the way that much. There's a little plastic retainer here that just pulls straight up. Then you undo the bolt that's right here on the little flange. I don't know if you can really see it, but there's a little flange that holds this coolant line to the actual engine block. You just take this little bolt loose, and then you can move this whole coolant line, just move it up out of your way. Before you do it, or start on the install or disassembly, make sure you disconnect your battery, because the starter solenoid is right down there, right where you'll be working to undo the bolts from your stock manifold. So just so you have a little bit more room, and then you don't have to worry about accidentally grounding out your wrench on the car or on the positive on the starter solenoid. When you go to do the passenger side, the top bolts aren't too bad to get to, but the bottom ones makes it a little bit more challenging, just because there isn't a whole lot of room to get to them. Again, I just used a regular half-inch shorty socket to get to them. The top ones aren't that bad to tighten, but it's just the bottom ones you'll just have to take your time and go through it nice and slow, but it can be done. It took me about an afternoon to install both sides and get tightened up, and then tighten it up so there was no exhaust leaks. So far I've had them on about 2 months now, and haven't really gotten any sort of exhaust leaks or anything, or had any problems out of them. These are just the regular chrome finish ones. They kind of turn a little bit of a color because of the heat, but if you got the ceramic coated, they'll stay that nice bright color. It won't be as bright as the chrome finish, but And the ceramic does help. They help with keep some of the heat out of the engine bay. But for me, I mean, these ones work just fine for what I'm doing. So other than that, I mean, it's a pretty straightforward install. It's pretty self-explanatory. Really, I mean, the instructions that come with them aren't bad, but they aren't the greatest in the world. So once you get the stock manifolds off, which is really easy to do because there's no tubing in the way or anything of your stock manifolds. They're just flat and they stick right on there, and you can pull them right off. It's just the opposite of what you did, just to put it back together and put it back on. Make sure you have the bolts going from the end of the flange here that hold the mid pipe on the car. Make sure you have those nice and tight, otherwise it'll rattle or you'll have an exhaust leak there. And then after you drive, about a week or two or 500 miles or so, you want to go back through and just check all your bolts again, just to make sure that none of them have worked their way loose. I haven't had any problems with any of them coming loose again, so but it's worth the 20 minutes just to go back and check all of them, just to make sure that hasn't happened. When you do start the car for the first time, there might be a little bit of smoke and a little bit of a funny smell. If you put some penetrating oil on there, just because it'll get on these studs, and you might have a little bit of oil and stuff on the actual new headers. Once that burns off, it'll be fine, and I haven't had any sort of leaks or anything out of them, and they've worked pretty well for me. Anyways, that's pretty much it for how I installed them. It wasn't too difficult. Just make sure you take your time, leave yourself. It took me about the whole afternoon to do, so just make sure you leave yourself a good day just to do it, because you're not going to really get them done in less than an hour like it says in the instructions or so. But if you take your time, it's not too bad, and then you'll be able to at least say that you did it yourself. If you have any questions or anything, you can just leave them for me in the comments below, and I'll try to answer them to the best I can.